My name is Pranislav Potocek. Welcome to the newcomers. Welcome back to the regulars. To see some of my colleagues are already in there as well. Today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about, I call the webinar professional services because is going to be a small PR plugin at the end, but overall, the webinar will talk about software auditing and how OpenLM can actually help you to self-assess, to help you analyze your license portfolio. And of course, we are the primary engineering license monitoring solution. So it's going to be talking about assessing the engineering licenses. But at the beginning, I will also touch a little bit on how the software audits actually work in general. So the content of the webinar, and this webinar is one of the shorter ones, but I think it's extremely valuable. So at the beginning, I'll just talk a little bit about the core IT software licensing and compare it to the engineering licensing. What are the key differences? Talk about key compliance issues that can happen for the engineering applications that you can monitor by OpenLM, and then actually spend more time on showcasing the tool, and in this case, actually showcasing both the OpenLM on-premise and the OpenLM cloud solution. And then to wrap it up before I'll leave space for the Q&A, talk about the professional service, which is actually just OpenLM offering to do what you can do with the tool for the audit compliance, audit self-assessment yourself, and us doing it for you. So without further ado, let us begin. What is the difference between software licensing for your core IT vendors like Microsoft, IBM, or Oracle, and your core engineering vendors, Dassault, Siemens, Petrol, Autodesk? You pick the one that you are using. So for the core IT applications that are usually the focus of the software asset managers, the Microsoft, the IBM, the Oracle. These are usually big contracts, especially for the bigger organization, that are usually done in a true-up form where you purchase as much as you need, and they give you a licensing model, but you are not technically limited on the deployment. You can use basically as much as you like, and the only time where you need to prove what is happening is either at the end of the year when the true up comes, where you should actually showcase to the vendor this is how much you've been using, and either you can optimize and get less for the next year, or you need to purchase more because you have been using more. The standard licensing models here are for licensing per core, per user, IBM's famous processor value unit licensing models, some of the key examples. With the true up, like I said, you are focusing on what do I own on one hand, and what do I have deployed on the other hand. And like I said, based on do I have deployed less than I own, then maybe I can save some money, I can optimize the cost, or do I actually deploy more than I own? And in this case, when it comes to the true up, I need to be honest with the vendor. And in the case of the software audit, it's a finding, and again, you need to purchase the licensing extra. When it comes to engineering licenses, that still to this day usually use the network licensing system, and when it's concurrent named licensing, or in the case of Autodesk, their token flex model that they utilize for the enterprise customers. Usually, the licenses are limited. The technical limitation of the licensing model is that you cannot use more than you have. There are certain exceptions, and this scope of this meeting is not to delve too deep into the exceptions, but talk about the general rule. How the engineering licensing vendors actually enforce or make sure that there are some rules that you need to follow, since you don't care about the deployment. You can install as many Autodesks or as many Katias or as many team centers in your environment as you want, because the technical limitation prevents you to launch more than you actually own. Usually, the engineering vendors tie these licenses to a certain license scopes, and I'm going to talk in detail about those in my next slide. And out of these license scopes, a certain contractual obligations are written in the contract that you need to abide by. So what are the key compliance issues? All of these come from, like I said, the predefined contractual obligations that you have for these licenses. And the usage scope, usually in the mind of most auditors and most users, these obligations are tied to a geographical license scope. A license can be tied to a certain site, to a certain country. It can be region-wide. More expensive licenses can be multi-region-wide or global-wide. but it's not necessarily just a geographical license scope. The license scope can also mean different things, like, for example, you are only entitled to use the license for your internal employees versus you cannot use it for contractors. Or maybe you have a more benevolent vendor, or you have a better contract where you are actually allowed to use the license with the contractor. In some cases, what the vendor is actually looking at is, are you utilizing the license for a production work? Like, let's say one of the most famous CAD programs available, CATIA, or even Siemens NX. Usually you could say that when you are drawing, you are a car manufacturer and you are drawing a car, then that is a production work. But especially in the recent years, we know most of the companies are outsourcing their technical support overseas, whether it's the Eastern European countries or it's India, one of the most famous residencies of all the outsourced IT support. When it's just the IT guy, trying to fix your CATIA, that's not really a production work. So you could skate by and say that that's really that shouldn't really count towards the compliance. Where the problem arises, what is the problem? How do you infringe? Is when you take this contractually obliged predefined usage scope and your users are infringing on it. That means, like I said, my users from one country are taking the licenses from another country, or from one side are taking the licenses from another side, or I'm a bigger corporation and I have a joint venture, but my contract doesn't allow the joint venture employees to use my licenses, and yet it happens because they are on the same network. These are all the primary examples of license infringement that happens with the engineering licenses, with the engineering applications that are tied to the networking model. And it's something that we are going to show today with OpenLM. How can you actually assess yourself and see if you have a problem? What I have written here is, this is another problem that actually can sometimes happen. It's not that often, but when you are decommissioning your network license servers, it can happen that you forget to turn off the old server, you forget to adjust the client configuration, and this is one of the rare examples where you actually can come to a situation that you are duplicating the amount of your licenses, and once again, it can be an audit finding. I don't want to actually delve too much deep into the presentation because I prefer for this webinar really to do the example with actually a working OpenLM system. So we will do the first showcase on an OpenLM on-premise installation, and then the second one we will actually demonstrate on an OpenLM cloud installation, because even though the systems are basically the same on the backend, there are certain differences with the cloud that are important to showcase. So let me go in here in just a second to my OpenLM on-premise demo installation that we have prepared and that we are using to showcase data. So as you can see here in this report, it's one of our basic license usage reports that is just showcasing the peak usage, as you can see over the days at the bottom in the table, and comparing it to certain to the owned licenses that are installed in the license key. This example is actually from an Autodesk installation, and it's showcasing the real utilization of the Autodesk licenses. So why am I showcasing you this graph? How is this relevant to compliance? To actually be able to measure the compliance with OpenLM, you need a certain data inputs. You need to know certain variables. So the first variable that you need to know, that you need to define yourself, and right now our system has a small way of actually allowing you to predefine it internally. Like you see, my server name is server2, and you can name the server whatever you like. So in theory, you could actually name it with the predefined usage scope of the license. But for the purpose of this discussion, let's say that my server 2 is residing in Germany. So my usage scope for these licenses, as you can see for this Autodesk feature in here that I'm actually filtering and that I'm showcasing you the utilization, is a license that is specifically bought, and my contract says that it's only valid for German users. So how is this graph relevant for me? Well, this is where another data input comes into play, and we do offer you the option to actually synchronize OpenLM with an Active Directory. In my head, and this assumption will be this is the main source of data, but you can, if you so choose to, you can also input this portion of the data manually, and that's your user details. each user in OpenLM can have certain details like a username, the name of the user, the other data that comes from Active Directory. One of the most important, which is grouping. You can group the users by certain definitions. Of course, I hope you see where this is going. One of the primary groupings when we are looking at license compliance, as we discussed in the presentation that I showcased, is that usually the contractual obligation, the license scope of the license is defined geographically. So let's say by country. I'm going to illustrate this on a country example, but whether it's a country or it's one site in your country or it's a region-wide license like for the whole Europe, you get the principle. I think the illustration by country is the most simple and most easy to understand. So I input my user data either from Active Directory or from another directory, or I do it manually into OpenLM. And now I have all my users grouped by country. So when I pick my group Germany, I can see what the Germany users are doing. When I see a group China, I can see what my China users are doing. So let's move forward because the first step in analyzing the compliance is in self-assessing yourself is actually trying to find out, is there something wrong? So we have defined our German license server with the usage scope definition for Germany. We know that the license we are looking at is only available for German users as per the contract. And let's see, if we can actually detect some compliance issue. So I'm going to use one of the filters on the left, a group filter. And as you can see, these groups, are only numbered because they are encrypted, because originally this database comes from one of our customers. We cannot show the data. But for the purpose of this demonstration, we are saying that group 166 is a group of users that originates in France. I'm going to filter this report by group France and hit apply button. And now what I can immediately see, as you can see, the utilization went a lot down, but still I can see that some users from France are actually using my German licenses. So this is a first hint. This is the first step in the self-assessment process, that now I know that I'm in trouble. Now I know I have a problem. Maybe it's not the biggest one, as you can see on the graph, it's 1, 2, 3 users. Maybe it goes to 4 sometimes. So, but I know that there are, at some points in time, there are actually 4 users from France that are taking my German licenses. And if I got audited right now, I would be in trouble with the vendor. So let's take the next logical step, and that is actually identifying who these people are. And again, please bear in mind that the database this OpenLM instance is connected to is encrypted. So we are not going to see real usernames. I am going to use a license activity report. Now I'm seeing the table of all the users. You can see these are the encrypted usernames that actually utilize this license. Again, what I can do, there actually is a column group where I can see all the groups. And if my groups are actually countries or my locations, I can immediately see even from this report whether the infringement is happening or not. I can export this table as with all the other OpenLM table reports into a CSV and play with it there. Or I can do again what I did in step 1 in actually utilizing the license usage report to see the compliance problem. Again, I'm going to pick group 166, which as we defined for ourselves is our French group. And again, I can hit apply. And now I can actually see all the users from Germany, from France that are taking my German licenses. And of course, now I know that there is my logical next step is I basically go internally, talk to these users, look whether it's, they may not even be aware, that the users may not even be aware that they are creating the infringement. It may be an incorrect license server configuration on my end. There are plenty of options that I, as the license manager, in conjunction with the application owner for the particular product, like Autodesk in this case, can now investigate, provide the internal remediation, and the OpenLM keeps monitoring, and now I know that I have remediated the issue. I can simply check the reports again and see if the situation has gotten better. Of course, all of this that I just showcased is assuming that I already have an OpenLM instance running on my premises, and then I've been reporting my data, I've been checking my data, and that I'm actually already a user of the product. Or if you're not, this is probably a good business case or one of the good business cases to go with OpenLM, to get OpenLM. But there is more. As I said at the beginning, and sorry if some of the steps are going to be repeated in here, but what we do offer now, and I think we are one of the first engineering, license monitoring solutions that does offer, is a cloud solution. And the cloud solution is managed internally by us, where you only, when you get the solution, you just create an account. And now with the cloud solution, you actually do have two options. One is, of course, the same as with the OpenLM on-premise installation, that you install the brokers internally on your license managers. Those brokers gather data, they stream it to the OpenLM cloud instance, and you can see the reports as you have seen in the OpenLM on-premise demonstration. But there is another option. Let's say that you are facing an audit now, or you just woke up and decided, now it's time to do the self-assessment for myself, because I do have a suspicion that something is going wrong in my engineering applications installations, but I don't have a solution. I've never installed any license monitoring system. Hopefully, if nothing else, you at least have the debug log files. Disclaimer, right now, we only support uploading of the debug log files for the FlexLM license manager, which is the industry standard and is widely used for many many engineering applications. The plan is to support more. For now, just FlexLM, but we do give you the option, if you do have the FlexLM debug log file, to actually go to OpenLM Cloud, take the debug log file with your license file, upload it, and it will show you already the historical data. What I would suggest in this case is actually to work in conjunction. If you are really, if you've never heard of this, if you can become an OpenLM's prospect and you would like to see actually what happened in your past, and also keep working towards improving and see what is going to happen with your license portfolio in the future, the conjunction of actually getting the historical data from the license log file and then getting the brokers onto your premises and continuing streaming the data for the future reference, I think that would be the best solution. But that's just an option. In practicality, once you either uploaded the log file to look at your historical data, or you decided to go with the brokers, or you decided to go with two of them together, that's up to you. The rest of the process would actually be pretty similar, so we can again create the report, because you can see the database that this cloud solution is actually connected to. Is connected to on the back end is the same. And I'm sorry, now I got logged out and I will need to relog again. Just a second. Slight technical difficulty. I can see that you guys are already checking the chat. I'll check the chat after the presentation is done. So let me reconnect and I'll reshare the screen in a moment. I won't waste your time too much on the next presentation, because like I said, the practical interface of the cloud is the same as the on-premise installation. I just want to showcase you that you can really see that it is the same and it works in the same way, and you can get the same data. So let's share again. Hopefully you can see it now. Yeah, we are aware of that auto logout issue, and okay. I'm going to use the filter. So we get the same report. As you can see, it's exactly the same server. It's exactly the same feature which we use for our demo purposes. You can see that the report again is showcasing you the same thing. And if we use the premise from the OpenLM on-premise, no pun intended, demonstration, and we take the same group, which we labeled was group 166, that is showing our French users, And again, as you can see, the report on the bottom is the same. And again, this is just a confirmation, assuming all the input variables are there, that there is a problem, there is a license infringement issue, and that you need to work on it. And again, the license activity report, very good in tracking actually what is happening, in identifying the users. So let's open it up here. You can see the encryption here is a little bit different, but we are basically getting the same data. And again, you can actually see that the table got exported the same way. And again, we could filter it by group and got the same data as in the on-premise installation. So that's about as far as I want to go. I don't want to. There are more small reports, that can, of course, assist you in getting more details. But I think for the first two steps for actually doing the self-assessment, this solution is already pretty feasible. And we are trying to actually work internally on improving this a little bit better, because if you have been working within the software asset management world, you know that the software audits are a very important thing, and it's always better to be prepared ahead in time instead of just trying to scramble all the data after the software vendor is actually knocking on your door. So with that, I'm going back to my presentation and talk to you for a minute or two about the professional services. So this is basically us as OpenLM, and we've been training hard for the past few months to actually get more resources internally to be able to provide these solutions to our customers. So if you don't feel that you are up to the task, or if you simply don't want to deal with it, we are here, and we are here to offer you to do the self-assessment audit for you. Whether we are going to do it through the FlexLM debug log files, or you are looking at the broker solution, we are there. We can come, analyze the environment, choose the most important, the most critical vendor, or work enjoy it with your application owner to choose the critical vendors, analyze the usage scope from the contracts. And bear in mind, it's always defined in the contract. If you have been a SAM manager, that read all the contracts into details, because it's always there. And sometimes there can be a very small disclaimer letters that would actually surprise you what the vendor can put internally in there. And then, of course, decide on the solution, whether you want to go with the on-prem or the on-cloud, and then run the assessments. And if possible, setting up periodical assessments to remedy any historical issues. With that, that's actually the end of the presentation for today from my side. I would like to showcase you this slide with where you can contact us on our webpage, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and I would like to give the time for the Q&A. And I saw there is already something in the chat. From Robert. I attempted to do that, but I was told that there is an issue that's currently preventing this function. Let me tell you this, because I usually for the QA, and I know people are sometimes shy to talk, but I really prefer a discussion. So I'm going to allow everybody to talk. If you guys are up for a discussion, just hit the microphone.
Yes, hello, this is Robert.
Hey, Robert, I can hear you very well.
Good morning here in California.
Good morning in California. It's evening my time, almost 8 p.m., but that's fine. I don't mind. I'm just having trouble promoting some people because they are apparently using an older version of. Oh, okay. We should be good now, so people can unmute and talk. Hey, Robert, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Yeah, I just got up OpenLM Cloud up and running, and nice. It was very easy to get it going, and it immediately detected all the FlexLM services running on my server, so that was really great. And so we got it all configured for the ones that I really need it for, and but immediately we were not able to upload like a debug log from like the past 6 months to be able to look at some of that data. And so that was one thing that the support engineer took as a issue, and he went and took that and said that there is a current issue with that, and we haven't been able to proceed with uploading any past logs at the moment.
Okay.
So I just wanted to bring that up. That's what I'm experiencing.
Just making sure that you also that by the support engineer you mean one of our support engineers already. So
yes, that is correct.
Oh, okay. We are working internally to actually improve the uploader functionality because there are limitations both size-wise and that it's just a FlexLM log, but it should get better in the future.
Okay, I'll reach out to him again. It's been over a month or so, and so maybe I'll bring it up again and we'll give it a test.
Yep, please do.
Thanks.
And if you feel that it's not proceeding well, you can also contact me directly. My name dot my surname at openlm.com. I'm leading the support department as well, so I'll be able to look into the issue because I believe that this is the only case that we actually had recently of somebody not being able to upload the log file. So I can look into that. But it's nice to hear, and I'll be completely honest, extremely nice to hear that you were actually able to set it up easily. Because it's one of the things that we are actually a little bit struggling into identifying whether it's is it too easy or is it too complicated? Because the assumption would be that for an experienced license manager, it should actually be easy, but maybe for somebody who's never been dealing with it, it's just been a user of the FlexLM or of the other license. Maybe it's a little bit more complicated. So it's nice to hear from somebody that it's actually really easy to do. Thanks.
Yeah, the broker installed very quickly and immediately found all of our services. Yeah, I have been using FlexLM for quite a while, so we did have our FlexLM services set up, pretty organized, and so I think that may have helped. But yeah, we were able to get that up and going right away, and not a problem with getting immediate data.
Nice. Thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Guys, anybody else wants to join on the discussion?
Oh, this is Robert again. Another issue that I was experiencing is that OpenLM Cloud keeps logging me out automatically every 10, 15 minutes, whether I'm active or not. And it's not like there's a timeout or anything. It just keeps logging me out.
It's the same thing that you saw happen to me in real life, and yes, we are aware of the issues. So it's pending a fix.
Okay, and then I apologize, but I just also have one more.
No, keep on coming. This is why we are doing this, to get the feedback. Sometimes it's hard to get the proper feedback or an extensive feedback. We have many customers that do communicate with us, but we do have the feeling that sometimes, there are pieces of information that are still being lost or that we don't understand properly. So the more, the merrier.
Okay. Yeah. The one other thing that's really that's kind of a constant issue is that the user settings for my account are not saved. For example, the time zone and the date display settings. I'm in United States, so the date display is different than Europe. We go with month first, then day, and then
I
year.
know. It's done. Yes, I know.
And so every time I log in, the personal settings for my account are reset, and so I have to change the date display and change the time zone every time I log back in. And then because of the automatic logout, I have to do that, several times every day.
So I can imagine that's pretty annoying. I didn't know that. I'm not sure that this is a common occurrence because I've never seen that happen to my account, but we'll definitely investigate it.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you.
Well, yeah, by the way, I have reported all these issues to my support engineer.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody else wants to join on the talk?
If nobody else, I got another question.
Hey, don't worry. It's my dream for these webinars, and I think this is my third in a row. Is that to open the discussion? In the past, we just read the QAs, but I believe that the more and more people actually stop being shy and join the discussion and then talk to me. We can actually have the Q&A like a joint discussion. 5, 6, 10
Great.
people, whatnot. So this is where I want to move it.
Well, so, it's like a user interface question. I've got basically there's two services that I'm monitoring, and in the license usage report,
Yes.
One of my services comes up with, red lines, very visible, easy to see.
Yes.
But the other one always comes up yellow, and that's kind of difficult to see. So I'd like to
So,
know how to permanently change the color.
so here you can change the color. Can you see my screen? I hope I'm still sharing, right?
Yes, I see it's blue.
Oh, you can change it to whatever you like.
Yes.
There is a big palette, and you can also, and I'm not sure if you noticed, but if you have an application where you have two licenses doing the same thing, you can also click this button, unclick it, and it will just create one report. It will count it together. So that's another.
Yes.
Yeah, but you
Yes, I
can.
guess the question is how to save that color so that it
Oh
stays
yeah.
there every time.
Honestly, I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you can do that.
Yeah,
You caught me unprepared, and that's a shame because I've been on the user end of OpenLM for many years.
yeah. It's funny that this one always comes up yellow, and yellow is just not quite as visible against a white background. So that's just a little annoyance. But just a quick question on that. If
Okay.
sometime we'll find out how to do that.
So this is Bruce Price.
Hey, Bruce.
Hey, so we have an on-premise set, and I agree with Robert there. That yellow is really annoying.
Oh yeah, you can see it. I know.
So I wanted to say in the start or the administration console under System and Security, there is a color chart that you can select, but I haven't got it to make those colors change, and I would assume that that's what this is for. But I mean, maybe it works on the cloud.
Maybe it works on the 21, which is the one that's deployed on the production cloud. Now, guys, I'll investigate this and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I mean, so you can go.
I know that you can't see the yellow, and especially if you have like 6-7 licenses at the same time, then the yellow is completely lost there.
Right, you can use that custom palette and change the yellow to whatever color you want. So if you select cut, so the trick is does it really stick into the reports?
Play with that.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yep, no problem.
That may also be a part of where my user settings are not being saved every time. So maybe they're contributing to each other.
Yep. Anybody else? I'll give it a couple more minutes just in case, something pops into your head.
Oh yeah, hey, I got another thing. When selecting the date range for a usage report, one of the choices is last 7 days or last 30 days.
Yes.
For some reason, it doesn't include the current day.
No, it does not. It always counts from yesterday all the way back.
Okay.
That's by design. Yes, that's.
I see. Okay.
So if you want to include the current day, the easiest way to do it is just going here and finding the origin date, and it will keep the end time will always be the current date up until midnight.
Okay. I say I was wondering if is there a way to add an additional saved date range that says 7 days, including today? Maybe just because that was kind of the.
It's not a feature, but can definitely check it under user stories.
Okay.
Add it under our user stories, and we have a lot of user stories.
Okay. Thank you.
Because every customer is a little bit different in what they want. So I was just curious, Robert, since you are talking with me openly in here on this webinar. So what's the plan for the OpenLM? If you go for it, is it going to be more targeted at optimization and cost saving, or is the topic at hand for today's webinar also something that's interesting to you?
Oh yes, this auditing is interesting. Yeah, we're going to be using this to gather data and get trends of our license usage, and also to be more closely aware of our global usage. Like you said, we don't want to violate our software license agreements, and so we're going to be utilizing all this reporting to hopefully make it easier to identify and prevent those things from happening.
Nice. Yeah, as it should be. It's just that, I've worked for a big company for many years, and I know that a lot of time the focus is on the optimization, let's call it optimization side, cost saving side, and like people tend to not look at the compliance perspective until they get audited the first time, and then it becomes a big topic.
Yeah, I've been through that previously, so I don't want to do that ever again.
I can imagine. Okay, thanks for the feedback. They really hope we can in the future open this discussion even more. Okay, so if nobody has anything else to say, I'm gonna give it one more minute, and then I'm gonna close this out. Thanks for coming, thanks for listening, and thanks for talking to me. And we are working hard internally to make the product better and better, and offer more and more, and also listening to all the small and big problems that you guys have and trying to fix them as fast as we can.
I appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, so once again, everybody, thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for listening, and I'll see you on one of my next webinars. Have a great evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you're located. Thank you and bye.